What if everything you've been told about darkness was a lie? What if the parts of you that you were taught to hide, to silence, to bury deep inside your soul were not your flaws, but your greatest source of divine power? What if the reason people fear Scorpio is because they sense something ancient, something sacred, something that cannot be controlled? Stay with me until the end, because what you are about to hear is not just astrology. It is a revelation, a remembrance, a spiritual initiation into the most mysterious energy in the universe. And once you hear it, you will never see Scorpio the same way again. In every zodiac sign, there is a story, but Scorpio's story is not written in ink. It is written in blood, in fire, in transformation. Scorpio is the keeper of secrets, the guardian of endings, the alchemist of the soul. This sign walks through life, carrying the vibration of death and rebirth, of loss and resurrection, of destruction that becomes divine creation. They say Scorpios are dangerous, that they are too intense, too mysterious, too deep. But let me tell you the truth that no witch, no mystic, no magician wants you to know Scorpio is not dangerous because of what it destroys. Scorpio is dangerous because of what it awakens. It awakens truth. It awakens power. It awakens the parts of you that the world tried to put to sleep. There is a reason people can feel a Scorpio before they even enter the room. The air shifts, the energy thickens. Something unexplainable moves through the space. That is not imagination, that is frequency. Scorpios vibrate at the level of transformation itself. They are not afraid of the darkness, because they are the darkness that teaches others how to find the light. Every Scorpio carries a sacred wound, a pain so deep it becomes a portal. Through that portal flows their power. When a Scorpio loves, it is not casual, it is cosmic. It is devotion in its rawest form. And when a Scorpio loses, the universe trembles, because something ancient has been broken open again. Scorpio's path is not easy. It was never meant to be. It is the soul's agreement to walk through fire so that others may see how to survive it, to die 1,000 times in spirit, and yet rise each time stronger, wiser, and more luminous. That is why Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, the planet of the underworld, the master of rebirth. If you are Scorpio, or if you carry this energy in your chart, you were chosen for transformation. You were not meant for ordinary love, ordinary work, or ordinary faith. You were meant to dive into the depths of existence itself and pull truth from the bottom of the abyss. You are the mirror that reveals what others are too afraid to see. And yet, beneath the mystery and the power, there is a tenderness, a heart that feels everything. Scorpios are not cold, they are simply sacredly guarded. They sense energy, motives, vibration. They can hear lies, even when no words are spoken. That is their blessing, and sometimes their burden. So tonight, we are going to lift the veil. We are going to explore what no one dares to speak, the hidden, forbidden, luminous truth about Scorpio. Not the fear-based myths, not the pop astrology cliches, but the spiritual essence that makes Scorpio the most transformative force in the zodiac. And as you listen, ask yourself, what part of me is afraid of the dark? What part of me has been waiting to be reborn? Because this story is not just about Scorpio. It is about you, your power, your healing, your awakening. Take a breath. Feel the energy rising through your spine. You are about to remember something your soul already knows. If you feel this energy, if you sense something moving within you as you listen, write in the comments, "I am ready to awaken." There is a reason Scorpio has been both feared and worshipped since the beginning of time. This sign does not walk upon the surface of life. It dives into the depths where few souls dare to go. Scorpio is not interested in what is easy or pretty. It seeks what is real. It searches for the truth that lies hidden beneath the layers of illusion, beneath the masks we wear, beneath the stories we tell ourselves just to feel safe. When we speak of Scorpio, we are speaking of transformation itself. In the language of astrology, Scorpio is ruled by Pluto, the planet of death, rebirth, and the endless cycle of evolution. But death, for Scorpio, is never the end. It is a sacred beginning, disguised as an ending. It is the breaking open of a seed so that life may burst forth. It is the shedding of an old self so that the soul may remember what it truly is. Every Scorpio carries this energy within. You can see it in their eyes, that quiet intensity, that knowing gaze that seems to read your thoughts before you speak them. Scorpios do not just see faces, they see essence. They sense energy. They recognize truth, not through logic, but through vibration. You cannot pretend with them because they live in a realm where pretending does not exist. Scorpio teaches that power is not something to be seized from others, but something to be reclaimed within the self. It is the power that comes when you face your own shadow, when you look into the darkness and say, "I am not afraid of you. I am made of you." That is the Scorpio journey, to move through pain not as a victim, but as an alchemist who knows that every wound is a portal to awakening. The soul of Scorpio is not content with small truths. It needs the whole truth, no matter how uncomfortable or raw. That is why Scorpios are drawn to mystery, psychology, spirituality, the occult, and all things hidden. They are not fascinated by darkness for its own sake. They are fascinated by what light can be found within it. For Scorpio, even the underworld is a classroom, and pain is a teacher whispering sacred lessons about power, surrender, and rebirth. Imagine the scorpion itself, a creature that carries both poison and protection, fierce yet silent, patient yet ready. It does not attack without reason. It waits, observes, and moves only when absolutely necessary. That is the essence of Scorpio's strength: silent control, emotional precision, and an awareness that every action has consequence. In the realm of energy, Scorpio is not impulsive, it is intentional. When you meet a Scorpio, you are not meeting just a person. You are encountering a force of transformation. They walk through life as mirrors of truth, reflecting back what others try to ignore. This can be both beautiful and terrifying. People often project their fears onto Scorpio because they sense that within them lies the power to reveal what is hidden. But the truth is that Scorpio's gift is not to expose others for harm, but to awaken them. To show that only by walking through darkness can one truly find light. And there is faith in that. Faith that no matter how deep the descent, there is always a path upward. Scorpio believes that destruction is sacred because it clears the space for rebirth. That every ending carries the seed of divine renewal. This is not blind faith. It is the faith of someone who has fallen 1,000 times and risen 1,001. So when we say Scorpio rules the underworld, it does not mean it rules despair. It means it rules the hidden chamber, where transformation happens, the invisible place where a caterpillar dissolves into nothing before becoming a butterfly. Scorpio is that sacred dissolving, that moment between death and resurrection, that silence between what was and what will be. In the heart of Scorpio lives a truth too profound for words, that every shadow is only light that has forgotten its name. And it is Scorpio who remembers, who descends into the depths, who retrieves the forgotten light and brings it back for the world to see. There is a reason ancient mystics, whispered about Scorpio in secret circles. Not because it was evil, but because its energy was too sacred, too raw, too powerful to be handled carelessly. Scorpio is the keeper of the forbidden flame, the energy that can destroy, heal, or recreate, depending on how it is used. This is the essence of divine duality, the truth that everything capable of darkness is also capable of unimaginable light. When you step into the energy of Scorpio, you are not stepping into something dark. You are stepping into the raw fabric of creation itself. This is the moment before light becomes form, before energy is labeled as good or bad, before power is contained by fear. Scorpio does not live in black or white. It moves through the shades of gray where transformation begins. That is why people often misunderstand them. They are not afraid of what is intense. They are afraid of what is real. This forbidden energy lives deep in the soul of every Scorpio. It is the same force that gives them magnetic presence and unshakable intuition. They can walk into a room and feel the invisible currents moving between people. They know when something is unspoken, when emotions are hiding beneath the surface. It is not magic in the theatrical sense. It is energetic awareness, a kind of spiritual radar tuned to the frequency of truth. Scorpio's energy is passion without pretense. It is the fire that refuses to burn only halfway. When a Scorpio loves, it is not halfway love. It is total immersion, body, mind, and soul. And that kind of love can feel dangerous to those who fear losing control, because Scorpio teaches that real intimacy is not comfort, it is surrender. It is the act of being fully seen, without armor, without illusion. This is why Scorpio energy has always been associated with the forbidden, the taboo, the unseen. It rules over the 8th house in astrology, the house of death, sexuality, power, shared energy, and transformation. All the things society tells us to hide are the exact things Scorpio was born to explore. This is not because Scorpio seeks rebellion, but because it seeks truth in every form. It wants to understand the sacred purpose behind every human experience, even the ones people are too afraid to name. The forbidden energy of Scorpio is not something to fear. It is something to respect. It asks for awareness, for consciousness, for responsibility. Power without awareness becomes destruction. Power with awareness becomes creation. Scorpio's path is to master this balance, to learn how to hold immense emotional intensity without letting it consume or control. That is the alchemy of the soul. When a Scorpio learns to channel this energy, they become a healer, a guide, a spiritual catalyst. They can look into the pain of others and help them transmute it into strength. They can take the poison of betrayal and turn it into medicine for transformation. This is why so many Scorpios are drawn to psychology, mysticism, energy work, and the metaphysical arts. They are naturally attuned to the invisible, the transformative, the eternal. And yet, there is something else that makes this energy so captivating the way it demands authenticity. You cannot fake a connection with Scorpio energy. It will expose the truth in silence, through vibration, through presence alone. That is its gift and its test. It invites you to strip away every layer of performance and meet your own soul face to face. In this sense, the forbidden energy of Scorpio is not darkness at all. It is divine honesty. It is the courage to look at your own shadow and find divinity within it. It is the reminder that you were never meant to be all light or all dark, but both intertwined, balanced, whole. Scorpio exists to remind humanity that creation and destruction are two sides of the same cosmic breath. So, when the world warns you about the danger of Scorpio's power, remember this: danger is only the name we give to what we do not understand. The truth is that Scorpio's energy is sacred, and when used with faith and awareness, it can elevate the soul to extraordinary heights. It can break curses of fear and ignite the kind of strength that only comes from knowing your own depths. Every Scorpio carries within them not just one self, but many. Like the moon, they are born to transform through phases, each one revealing a deeper level of truth. These transformations are not random. They are sacred initiations, gateways through which the Scorpio soul evolves from instinct to awareness, from survival to transcendence. The ancient astrologers called these the three faces of Scorpio: the scorpion, the eagle, and the phoenix. Each face tells a story of power, surrender, and rebirth. Let us begin with the first face, the scorpion. This is the Scorpio in its primal form, raw and untamed. The scorpion lives close to the earth, guided by emotion and instinct. It feels everything deeply, often too deeply, and its natural response is protection. It builds walls, guards its heart, and keeps its secrets locked behind an impenetrable gate. To the scorpion, vulnerability can feel like danger. That is why it often strikes first when it senses betrayal, not out of cruelty, but out of survival. The scorpion knows pain intimately. It remembers every wound, every loss, every moment of silence that followed betrayal. But even in that darkness, there is sacred wisdom forming. Because the scorpion's sting, that burning mix of passion and defense, becomes the first spark of transformation, the soul begins to understand that fear cannot coexist with freedom. This is where Scorpio's evolution begins, when the pain of hiding becomes greater than the fear of revealing. Then comes the second face, the eagle. This is the Scorpio who has learned to rise above the battlefield. The eagle no longer crawls through the dust of old wounds. It soars high above them, gaining vision. From the sky, it sees everything: patterns, cycles, energies. The eagle no longer reacts to pain. It studies it. It asks, "What is this teaching me? What truth is hidden inside this storm?" The eagle represents the awakening of consciousness within Scorpio. Here, power is no longer measured by control, but by perception. The eagle can see through lies without needing revenge. It can love deeply without being consumed by attachment. It understands that real power is not in domination, but in self-mastery. From this height, Scorpio learns to observe energy rather than absorb it, to understand others without losing itself in their chaos. In this form, Scorpio becomes a healer, a guide, a teacher. The eagle can look at human emotion and see its design, how pain and joy, loss and renewal are woven together by divine intelligence. It begins to recognize that everything it once feared was only an invitation to fly higher. And yet, even this is not the final stage, because from the ashes of every experience, something greater is waiting. Then, the third face reveals itself, the phoenix, the sacred symbol of immortality and rebirth. The phoenix is the Scorpio that has walked through fire and discovered it was never meant to burn, but to purify. This is not just transformation, this is transcendence. The phoenix dies to its old identity, willingly, fearlessly, because it has learned the ultimate truth that nothing real can ever be destroyed. When Scorpio becomes the phoenix, it no longer hides from endings. It welcomes them, because it knows every death is a doorway to evolution. The phoenix does not seek power, it embodies power. Its energy is radiant, magnetic, unshakable. It forgives not because it has forgotten the pain, but because it understands that holding on to it would only delay its flight. The Phoenix Scorpio becomes a light for others, the one who guides souls through their own darkness, the one who shows that brokenness is not the end, but the beginning of becoming whole. The Phoenix carries no fear of the unknown, because it has lived through destruction and discovered that within every ending lives eternal life. To walk the Scorpio path is to move through these three sacred phases again and again throughout life. Each transformation burns away another illusion. Each rebirth reveals another truth. From the scorpion's instinct, to the eagle's awareness, to the phoenix's divine wisdom, Scorpio's journey is nothing less than the soul's pilgrimage from shadow into light. There is an ancient secret that has followed Scorpio through the centuries, a truth whispered among mystics and hidden from the unready. It is said that Scorpio holds the key that witches once tried to guard the key to inner alchemy, because Scorpio's power does not come from potions, spells, or incantations. It comes from within, from the sacred ability to transform pain into wisdom, chaos into clarity, and darkness into light. That is the secret no witch wants you to discover. You do not need magic to become powerful. You are the magic itself. Scorpio's energy is the living embodiment of transformation. Every heartbreak, every betrayal, every ending that brought you to your knees, all of it was the universe teaching you the secret language of rebirth. The witch's power lies in her rituals, but Scorpio's power lies in her surrender. Because when a Scorpio surrenders, she does not give up. She gives in, into truth, into faith, into divine timing. She trusts that what dies within her is meant to be reborn stronger. This is why ancient wisdom feared Scorpio. They feared the one who could not be controlled by external forces, because Scorpio's magic does not depend on anything outside of the soul. You cannot steal it, you cannot buy it, you cannot learn it from a book. It is awakened only through experience, through walking the valley of shadows and choosing not to lose yourself in the dark. That is the initiation of Scorpio, to find light in the one place no one else dares to look. When the witch lights a candle, she hopes to summon clarity. When Scorpio lights her inner fire, she becomes the light itself. There is nothing symbolic about it. It is a spiritual metamorphosis. This is the energy that moves through Scorpio's life. Every ending becomes sacred fire. Every fall becomes fuel for ascension. This is how Scorpio performs her miracles. She does not escape the storm. She learns to command it. And yet, there is something deeply holy about this power. It is not domination, it is devotion. Scorpio does not seek to control others. The true Scorpio seeks to master her own energy, her own emotions, her own spirit. She knows that when she becomes aligned with divine truth, the world rearranges itself around her. The witches feared this, because true power does not ask for permission, it simply is. There is a moment every Scorpio knows. The moment they stop asking, "Why is this happening to me?" and start whispering, "What is this trying to awaken in me?" That is the shift from victim to master. That is when Scorpio's energy rises from within, ancient and unstoppable. It is the moment the soul reclaims its throne. In this way, Scorpio becomes her own priestess, her own oracle, her own healer. She learns to read energy the way others read words. She senses truth not by thinking, but by feeling. When she looks into someone's eyes, she sees not their surface, but their soul. That is not manipulation. It is spiritual perception, the gift of Pluto, the ruler of what lies beneath the visible. So when we talk about the witch's secret, we are really talking about Scorpio's birthright, the remembrance that all power is spiritual, and that the most dangerous kind of power is self-knowledge. Because when you know who you are, no spell, no lie, no illusion can bind you. Scorpio's darkness was never evil. It was sacred protection, a cocoon for divine awakening. And once that awakening begins, nothing can stop it. The witch's secret becomes Scorpio's truth. The greatest magic is not to command others, but to command yourself. To be so in tune with your inner world that the outer world bends toward your vibration, That is the true art of transformation, not casting spells, but becoming the spell. That is why the universe trusts Scorpio with the deepest mysteries. Because Scorpio does not run from shadow, it redeems it. It takes the poison of life, turns it into medicine, and offers it back to the world as healing. This is not power born of ego. It is power born of faith. The faith that even in the darkest night, there is a light waiting to be remembered. Every light, no matter how divine, casts a shadow. And Scorpio, the sign of transformation, knows this truth better than any other. The same fire that heals can also burn. The same depth that brings wisdom can, if left unchecked, become obsession. Scorpio's power is sacred, but it is also dangerous not because it is evil, but because it is absolute. The shadows within Scorpio are not enemies to be feared. They are mirrors reflecting the parts of the soul that still seek balance. When Scorpio falls into its shadow, it can forget that transformation begins with surrender, not control. It can become consumed by the desire to protect itself so fiercely that it begins to guard its heart, even from love. That's the paradox. The same intensity that allows Scorpio to love with such devotion can also cause it to fear loss so deeply that it closes its gates. The mind whispers, "If I never open, I will never be hurt." But the soul knows, love cannot be protected, it can only be lived. Jealousy, possessiveness, revenge. These are the whispers of Scorpio's wounded heart. They arise when the soul mistakes attachment for connection, when fear dresses itself as passion. But here lies the beauty. Scorpio's shadows are not punishments. They are invitations. Every moment of darkness is a call to awaken a deeper level of truth. When Scorpio faces these shadows with honesty, it remembers that real power never comes from control. It comes from release. Scorpio's greatest challenge is learning to trust not just people, but the universe itself. To trust that endings have meaning, that loss carries purpose, that pain is not punishment, but preparation. The moment Scorpio lets go of the need to predict, to control, to anticipate betrayal, its energy shifts from fear to faith. And in that moment, something miraculous happens. The same heart that once feared destruction becomes a source of healing for others. Every Scorpio knows the ache of betrayal, the sting of being misunderstood, the depth of emotional pain that feels too heavy for words. But this is where Scorpio's gift is forged in the furnace of the unseen. Those who have walked through emotional fire learn to recognize it in others. They can sit with someone's pain without running from it, because they have lived it and survived it. This is the quiet strength that Scorpio carries, the ability to see someone's wounds and still see their soul shining through. But there is something even more profound about these shadows. They teach Scorpio that vulnerability is not weakness, it is sacred courage. To open the heart after being broken takes divine strength. To forgive when the world says to hate is an act of spiritual mastery. Scorpio's healing begins the moment it chooses to love again, not because it forgot the pain, but because it refuses to let pain define it. In learning to accept its shadows, Scorpio becomes whole. It realizes that every emotion, love, fear, anger, passion, is a sacred expression of life. Nothing needs to be destroyed or denied. The goal is not to eliminate the shadow, but to integrate it. To say, yes, this darkness is also mine, and within it lives my light. That is true transformation, not purity, but unity. And this is where Scorpio's wisdom becomes divine, because once it embraces its own imperfection, it begins to see beauty in the imperfection of others. It becomes patient, compassionate, understanding. It no longer seeks to fix the world. It seeks to love it as it is. Scorpio learns that every person is a mirror, every story is a reflection, and every ending is only a doorway in disguise. The shadows within Scorpio are not curses. They are sacred teachers. They remind the soul that power without love is emptiness, and love without boundaries is surrender without purpose. Balance is the true mastery, the harmony of passion and peace, of strength and softness, of the seen and the unseen. Scorpio's journey through its shadows is not about perfection, it is about awakening. So, when Scorpio finally looks at its reflection and sees both the light and the dark, it understands. It was never broken, only becoming. The pain was never punishment, it was initiation. And the shadow was never the enemy. It was the path home to the self. When Scorpio finally emerges from the shadows, something extraordinary happens. The soul begins to remember what it has always known, that it was never bound to the darkness. It was simply learning how to master it. This is the beginning of spiritual awakening for Scorpio, the moment when the inner fire that once burned with rage and pain transforms into the flame of divine purpose. Scorpio becomes not just a survivor, but a guide, a healer, a soul who has walked through the underworld and returned with sacred light. Spiritual awakening for Scorpio is not gentle. It arrives through storms, through endings that strip away everything false, through losses that reveal what cannot be lost. It is the soul saying, I am ready to evolve, no matter the cost. And so life answers that prayer not with comfort, but with truth. Scorpio's awakening often begins in chaos, but it ends in clarity. It teaches the soul that peace is not the absence of pain, but the mastery of it. At this stage, Scorpio begins to understand that the universe was never punishing them, it was preparing them. Every betrayal became a mirror for boundaries. Every heartbreak became a lesson in self-worth. Every loss became an initiation into spiritual strength. What once felt like destruction now reveals itself as divine construction. The universe was not taking things away. It was clearing space for Scorpio to become who they were destined to be. The awakened Scorpio moves through life differently. They no longer chase power, they radiate it. They no longer seek revenge, they offer release. They no longer fear endings, they bless them. Because they know that what is meant for the soul can never truly be lost. It may change form, it may disappear for a time, but its essence remains connected through the thread of divine purpose. Scorpio understands that everything serves the awakening, even what once broke them. And something else shifts. Scorpio learns to lead others through transformation. Their energy becomes magnetic, not because they seek attention, but because people can feel truth when it stands before them. They sense the depth, the calm, the strength of someone who has faced death in every form and still believes in life. The awakened Scorpio becomes a lighthouse for lost souls, shining through the fog of illusion, reminding them that rebirth is always possible. There is a sacred silence that surrounds an awakened Scorpio. It is not the silence of emptiness, but of knowing. They do not need to prove their strength anymore, because their very presence speaks it. Their eyes carry both the fire of creation and the peace of eternity. They have learned that transformation does not mean becoming something new. It means remembering what has always been divine within you. This is where Scorpio's journey becomes universal. What began as personal pain turns into collective healing. Scorpio realizes that their story, their struggles, their scars were never just about them. They were about the awakening of humanity itself. Because every Scorpio who rises teaches the world something vital. That darkness is not to be feared, but embraced, not to be avoided, but understood. When Scorpio transcends, it no longer fights the shadow, it integrates it. It stands between the worlds, half in the realm of the seen, half in the unseen, and acts as a bridge between spirit and matter. That is why Scorpio energy is so magnetic. It holds the power of both destruction and creation, of heaven and earth, of the beginning and the end. It teaches that true spirituality is not escape, but embodiment. Scorpio's awakening is the realization that the soul is eternal and that death in any form is just a doorway to another level of truth. Every time Scorpio falls, it learns how to rise with more grace, more wisdom, more compassion. The phoenix within them becomes not just a symbol, but a way of being. And when they rise, they lift the world with them. So the awakened Scorpio walks forward with quiet faith, not the faith of blind belief, but the faith of experience, the faith of someone who has touched both heaven and hell and found light in both. They live no longer in fear of change, because they have become the embodiment of change itself. And in their presence, others remember, transformation is not the end of you. It is the revelation of your eternal self. There comes a moment, after every storm, when the air becomes still not empty, but holy. It is the pause after transformation, the silence that follows revelation. This is where Scorpio stands now, not in the darkness, not in the light, but in the sacred balance between both. It has faced death in every form, and yet it breathes deeper, clearer, wiser. That is the miracle of Scorpio, to die again and again, and still rise with grace that defies reason. You see, Scorpio's journey was never about conquering others. It was about conquering fear. It was about standing in the middle of chaos and remembering, I am not what happens to me. I am what I become because of it. That is what makes Scorpio extraordinary. They do not just heal, they evolve. They do not just forgive, they transcend. And when they rise, they carry light for everyone still searching in the shadows. There is beauty in the intensity. There is holiness in the struggle. And there is profound peace in realizing that even your pain was sacred. Every tear, every silence, every unanswered question. Scorpio teaches that nothing is wasted in the divine plan. Every experience, even the ones that shattered you, were part of your ascension. You are not broken, you are being sculpted. You are not lost. You are being redirected toward your own divinity. And when Scorpio reaches this understanding, something radiant happens. They forgive life itself. They no longer see themselves as a victim of fate, but as a co-creator of destiny. They begin to walk through the world not with fear, but with faith, so deep it vibrates through their presence. Their very existence becomes prayer not spoken in words, but lived through being. Every breath they take becomes a declaration. I am still here. I am still rising. This is the secret that lives in Scorpio's soul. That true power is quiet. It doesn't need to prove itself. It simply is. Power is not in control. It is in surrender. Love is not in possession. It is in freedom. Healing is not forgetting. It is remembering who you were before the wound. And faith is not blind. It is the vision to see light even while walking through darkness. Scorpio becomes the embodiment of all these truths, a living reminder that every soul has the same divine potential. As the final ember glows in the heart of Scorpio's story, we realize something profound. The dark truth was never dark at all. It was sacred preparation. It was the universe teaching you how to hold light so powerful it could guide others. Scorpio's darkness was only the cocoon, and now the wings are ready. You are the phoenix. You are the resurrection. You are the proof that the soul cannot be destroyed, only transformed. So, take this energy with you. Let it remind you that endings are not final. They are holy invitations to rise. Let it awaken the part of you that still believes in miracles, in destiny, in divine timing. Let it stir your faith until you remember that you too are made of the same cosmic fire that births stars. Scorpio may walk through shadows, but it never forgets it was born from light. And as this journey closes, may you carry the essence of Scorpio in your spirit, fearless, faithful, and infinitely reborn. May you find courage in your transformation and grace in your becoming, because you were never meant to stay the same. You were meant to evolve, to rise, to shine. If this message touched your soul, stay with this energy, breathe it in deeply, and allow it to settle in your heart. And when you are ready to keep exploring the mysteries of the stars, the soul, and the unseen, watch the other videos on this channel, because your journey of awakening has only just begun.